Dice Circus Episode 4 Recap. Blood in the Lantern Light. Previously, in Goldspire, there are nights where everything changes. This was one of them. The party barely had time to breathe. After illusions, fractured identities, and revelations that defied reason, they stood in the broken remains of what should have been a sanctuary. The Celeste Tavern. Wounded, shaken, still trying to make sense of dragons born from gold, and reflections that could bleed. And then, it got worse. At the center of it all stood little Gordon, small, still, guilty. Powdered sugar dusted across his snout, clinging to trembling hands as he clutched a tray of half-eaten donuts. Caught, once again, in a moment he didn't fully understand. And then, the doors exploded inward. Wood splintered like bone under pressure, crashing against the walls as the cold night air tore through the tavern. Candles flickered violently. Shadows stretched long and unnatural across the floor. And in the doorway, they arrived. 3 figures, 3 threats, 3 forces that turned tension into certainty. The first was tall, poised, and elegant, wore a smile that dripped with venom. Every movement deliberate, every glance calculated. Delthea Bloodborne. A name that carried weight, a name that used to mean power. Beside her stood a noble figure, clad in immaculate armor, her fury barely contained beneath the polished steel. Aaron Ventari. Not just a warrior, but a symbol of something larger, the leader of the Ventari Guild. And behind them, a towering presence. A Goliath whose very shadow seemed to swallow the doorway whole, Orla Skis. Massive, yet silent, and already apologizing through her eyes. You could tell she didn't like the violence. Across the room, slowly rising from where she'd been thrown, was Jolene Brashmont. Blood traced a line from her lip, but her voice, steady, controlled, deadly. "Ah," she said softly. So the cowards finally came. What followed was not a confrontation. It was the end of an era. Delthea stepped forward, twin blades glinting in the low light. She dragged one slowly across her tongue, crimson spilling to the floor in a gesture that blurred the line between ritual and madness. Her eyes never left Jolene. "Oh, darling," she purred, voice laced with venom and something far more personal. "Just because you stole my title doesn't mean you stole my respect." Her gaze flickered to the party. "And these unfortunate souls?" A smile curled. "They're just collateral." Steel shifted, magic stirred. Aaron's voice cut through the tension like a blade, cold, certain. "Shame," she said, looking over the party. "They might have made fine adventurers someday." A pause. Then, "Enough games. The city belongs to those strong enough to take it." Her eyes flicked to the Goliath. "Go, Orla. Break them." Orla stepped forward. Slowly, reluctantly. She lifted her maul, and at that moment it was clear. She didn't want this, but she was going to do it anyway. Jolene didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't falter. "You should have stayed in the shadows." And then, everything broke out. The tavern erupted into chaos. Steel clashed against steel, tables shattered. Glass exploded, the air filled with the sharp sting of ale and iron as the fight consumed everything in its path. This wasn't clean, this wasn't controlled. This was violence, raw and desperate. Erin pulled out something from her cloak, something wet, something moving. A heart, a beating heart. She began to squeeze, and in doing so brought Jolene down to her knees, gasping for air, as if her life was in the hands of Aaron, and Aaron loved that. She knew the power of holding someone's heart in her hand, and watching Jolene squirm gave her the joy that would send shivers down anyone else's spine. Jolene on her knees, trying to stay conscious. Suddenly, an arrow shot across the room with immense accuracy, embedding itself right through Aaron's wrist. The arrow had twisted and writhered as it severed her hand. As the hand dropped to the ground, as did the heart. Jolene was able to breathe again, but now vulnerable. The party were no longer observers. They were part of it, caught in the storm, forced to fight. Blows landed, blood spilled. The room twisted into something unrecognizable, a battlefield, carved from splinters and screams. And at the center of it all, Jolene got back up and headed towards Delthea. History collided with the present. Old wounds reopened, old feelings turned into weapons. And in the end, there was no redemption, no reconciliation, only an ending. Jolene moved with lethal precision, a flash of steel, a final step forward, and with one decisive motion, she slit Delthea's throat. Silence followed, heavy, final. The former leader of the Whispers Guild fell where she stood. And just like that, the feud was over. But not everything ended in blood. Orla lowered her weapon, her breathing heavy, her eyes distant. She had done what she was told. Nothing more, nothing less. Aaron watched, calculated, unmoved, and then she made a decision. Not tonight. With that, the two of them withdrew, not defeated, not broken, but choosing to wait. And just like that, they were gone, vanished into the cover of darkness on the streets of Goldspire. What remained was ruin. The Celeste Tavern lay in pieces, tables overturned, floors slick with spilled drink and something darker. Candles burned low, flickering in the cold air, drafting through the shattered doorway. And in the stillness, something small moved. The dragon. Tiny, red, glowing faintly like dying embers. It fluttered down from the rafters and curled beside Mavana with a soft, fragile chirp. Impossible. Beside it, Gordon sat cross-legged, clutching his now empty tray. He didn't seem fazed by any of this. Why?
Did I break something again?
He asks. Across the room, Jolene pushed herself upright, hiding the pain the way only someone used to it could. Her gaze fixed on the dragon, then on Mavana. Mavana picked up the heart, beating on the ground, and Jolene's skin turned a whole new shade of pale. And for the first time that night, she looked afraid. She moved closer, kneeling beside her, her voice low, now quiet, measured, heavy with truth. You don't understand the weight of what you're carrying. Then a glance to the creature at her side. That should not exist either. Jolene looked at the heart held in Mavana's hand. My heart belongs to you now. A burden, but also a weapon. Her life sits in her hand, but yet the longer she stares into Maeve's eyes, the more her fear fades, and the guilt lingers. Jolene has had her fair share of run-ins with the Golden Bureau, and her not being in possession of her own heart is a testament to the power and cruelty of the Bureau. Maeve is now her master, the keeper of her heart, whatever that means. Before anyone could respond, a shadow passed beneath the door, then another. Something slid across the floor, stopping just short of the group. A letter, sealed. The wax shimmered faintly with arcane energy, catching in the dying candlelight. A symbol, unmistakable. A golden tower, encircled by stars. The mark of the Golden Bureau. Jolene did not need to open it. She already knew. Her face drained of any color remaining. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They know. Her eyes shifted to Gordon, to the dragon, to the party. Gordon, she said quietly, you have no idea what you've just done. And somewhere far beyond the tavern, something had already begun to move. This wasn't just a fight. This wasn't just a night of bloodshed. This was the moment everything changed, and the story of our party truly begins.